I was 7 years old, my favorite toys were Barbies. I loved playing dress up and would often only wear princess dresses. I loved the color pink, and I would line up all of my stuffed animals along my bed at night, saying goodnight to every single one of them so none of them felt left out. When I was 7 years old, I was exposed to pornography by another 7-year-old on a play date. My sweet, innocent heart was opened up to a world of brutality and sexual violence. Within development age, at around 7 years old, there is a major need for affirmation in order to build confidence. Around 7 years old is when a lot of children are learning about social rules and behaviors in relationships. I was able to access porn easily, with absolutely zero restrictions, without even needing to look for it. At 7 years old, I had no understanding of what I was looking at or the damage that it would cause. That one moment in time would lead to a 13-year porn addiction. At 7 years old, my brain was developing while I watched brutal porn videos where women and men were degraded and treated like animals. To explain to you all in further detail of what many porn videos show, I'm going to list some video titles off of Pornhub that are on porn today. This is where a trigger warning would come into place for you today. I have summarized them to censor them as best I can. Quote, woman raped, she's not allowed to say no. Quote, little girl tied up for the first time. Quote, she loves being used like a piece of meat. This is just scratching the surface of the videos produced in the porn industry. It was videos like these that were teaching me who I was and how myself and others should behave within relationships. The porn industry taught me that I was an object, that being hit, degraded, and used is not only normal, but a turn on in my place as a woman in the world. That if I do not consent, that is okay because I am just an object of pleasure. The porn industry lies to us and tells us that we can learn about sex and sexual preferences by watching porn. And I'm telling you today that porn is not sexual education, and porn is not a healthy view of sex. Porn normalizes violence and abuse. Studies show that 10 to 15-year-olds who watch porn are 5 times more likely to be sexually aggressive or victims of sexual abuse and violence. It was porn that led me into a toxic view of myself and sex. It was porn that desensitized me to sexual abuse and violence. I remember being 8 years old and feeling like something was deeply wrong with me. I had this pit in my stomach and I could never seem to get it to go away. As I got older and processed what had happened to me, I learned that pit was called shame. The weight of shame was caused directly by the porn industry and the porn that I had consumed. And that shame was heavy and it altered my life deeply. I was 11 years old when I started self-harming. Later that year, to be hospitalized in a psych ward due to a suicide attempt and extreme self-harm. My parents had to take my doors off of my hinges, and I was on suicide watch for a year of my life. I was 11 years old. I went to countless therapy appointments, and they would often ask me the same thing. Rachel, what has caused you to want to self-harm? Why do you want to kill yourself? I felt way too much shame to admit that I had a porn addiction, so I always responded with, I don't know, I just want to die. But it was porn. Porn caused me to hate my body, question my worth, isolate myself from others, and consume violent graphic content until I often felt sick to my stomach and would throw up. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression at 11 years old. I had an ongoing eating disorder from ages 12 to 20, and the string of mental health issues I was facing were rooted directly in my pornography addiction. Porn stole my innocence and polluted my mind, creating a dark reality that almost took my life. When I was 16 years old, I was sexually assaulted. I remember making it home and walking to my bedroom, looking at myself in the mirror and opening my mouth. The inside of my mouth was covered in bruises and I was crying. And I thought to myself, this was just like porn. That experience was just like porn. I'm supposed to want and like this. And I remember these conflicting feelings of, I kept crying out no and saying stop, but why would that actually mean stop? When in porn, no doesn't mean no. This mindset was brought on by porn and had desensitized me to abuse and sexual violence. And it was this mindset that told me to stay in my relationship with my abuser because my no could actually never mean no. I was simply an object, and my desires had no real meaning. This is what the porn industry teaches us. That I am an object, that my opinions have no real meaning, that my no could never truly mean no. I was in that abusive relationship from ages 16 to 18 years old. And it wasn't until I went to college and took a mandatory Title IX training where I had a full circle moment where I actually realized, oh my gosh, I'm being abused. I was sexually assaulted. Porn had made abuse so normal to me that I hadn't even grasped the fact that I was actively being abused and that I was sexually assaulted multiple times. I truly thought that it was normal. Even through all the pain and misery and wishing that it would end and trying to end my life, I hadn't realized that it was porn. Porn took my childhood away from me. And sometimes, as a survivor, we can try to stray away from saying statements like that porn stole my childhood from me. But it did, and that's exactly what happened. And that's sad. That should make us uncomfortable, and that should make you very angry. I am very angry. But I am hopeful. I still face repercussions of porn in my life. Nightmares, flashbacks, hypersensitivity to any kind of sexual content. But I am married to the love of my life, 10 years clean from self-harm, 4 years sober from porn, and I am hopeful. I am hopeful that the upcoming generation, my future children, will grow up with adults who chose to protect them. There is no place for children in the porn industry. If these sites had age verification, my life would look extremely different, and I would not have endured any of the pain and suffering that I did growing up. I should have never had the access that I did to porn, and I'm telling you today that age verification is uttermost necessity to protecting children and preventing stories like mine. Porn preys in the minds of children and young people with no attempt to protect them, but rather to make profit despite their innocence. And I stand here today on the right side of history, choosing to fight for age verification on porn sites for my younger self and the children of the upcoming generation. Thank you.